Um, Welcome back, everybody, after your short tea break, or iced tea might have been a bit more appropriate for the temperatures here in Cambridge. And a very, very, very warm welcome to our friends who have come to join us from Berlin. It is fantastic to see you, and we do thank you very much for the efforts that you're making to come and join us here in Cambridge and give us a vision of the internationality of this Sangha that we are joining. It's part of a series. We have 5 or 6 visitors coming over a number of weeks. This is week 3. And I'm absolutely delighted to see you and to meet many of you for the first time. I know a few people in the Berlin Sangha that I've known over the years, but it's a sheer delight to get to know, albeit via Zoom, a few more faces and a few more people from that great Sangha. So to kick us off, I would like to ask Dharma Sara. So obviously we in Cambridge, we have a very clear idea of what it's like to come into the Cambridge Sangha, where the centre is, how things work, who we might meet, who we might not, what kind of classes there might be. Could you just take a few moments and just try and paint a mental picture of us, of what that would be like if we were practicing in Berlin, if we were coming along to the Berlin Centre and the Berlin Sangha?
Yes, sure. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Dharma Sara, and I'm actually in the Berlin Centre at the moment. I'm here in the office together with Fabian. And so what would it be like if you came to Berlin? Well, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind is it would be very easy for you because we actually have English-speaking classes alongside German-speaking classes, so you don't have to mumble along in German. If you want to, you can do so. Well, let's actually start with the actual place before I go into our class system. So we're located in the district of Kreuzberg. So for those of you who don't know Berlin very well, it's a very it's quite a central district. We're quite central here in Berlin. It's very it's quite a hip place. There's a lot of clubs around. It's become more gentrified though recently. There's a lot of vegan places around, so we fit in quite well with the sort of general atmosphere. A lot of young people as well moving here. Very international. Like Triratna was saying that in the little team meeting, it's you're very lucky to meet someone who speaks German here. So there's a lot of English to be heard here in Kreuzberg. So that's the kind of, that's our surroundings, and then we are located in a sort of area that used to belong to an old hospital. So it's a quite old brick building that we're in. Very beautiful grounds. Unfortunately, I don't have I didn't have a photo ready of that. We only have photos. I think Adele, I sent a couple of photos to you. Maybe you can share that. So basically, yeah, it used to belong to an old hospital. No, that's the wrong one. I'll come to that in a minute. So just if you could show the shrine room that I sent to you. Anyway, and we've been here in these buildings for, yeah, so that's our shrine room. That's our main shrine room here in Berlin. So you can see that, you know, the tiles that used to be the kitchen and the washing room for that old hospital. I don't know when it was built, unfortunately, but it's probably, you know, at least a century old, if not older. Lovely surroundings as well. And we've been here, I think, for just under 10 years, I think, maybe 8-9 years. And I have actually never been to the old center, which has just been a small flat. So I've only come to this center. This is our main shrine room. We have 4 shrine rooms in total. We have a Sangha lounge. We have a huge basement that we probably of the size of the main shrine room, where we don't really have a purpose yet for. So we're still in, you know, still in the process of building up things, developing the center further. And then in terms of classes, yeah, we do have, you know, exactly Tuesday night is our Sangha night as well in German. We have an open night for newcomers on Wednesday night. Lots and lots of study groups, you know, entry-level study groups, Midra level study groups, GFR groups. And then we have sort of English-speaking side of the Sangha. We sometimes say, you know, the English Sangha, but really it is an international Sangha. So we have a Friday night, which is a meditation night. That is quite an intense evening of meditation, very full on, and it's one of the highlights of my week, really. And most people here appreciate that because it's very focused on also ritualized Buddhist meditation in a way. A very good atmosphere, very good meditators in our Sangha. It's crazy. Triratna rejoices in the quality of meditation very often. You usually just need to sort of hook onto someone else's meditation and then you fly off. And then on Saturday morning is our main class for the English-speaking Sangha. And yeah, I think that has developed in the past 4 years or something into very buzzing, vibrant community. We have people from, well, just now the 6 people that are here, only 3 of us are actually German, yeah, and the other 3 are English, Italian, and Greek. So so that gives you an idea of our Sangha. And then we have morning meditations and lunchtime meditations and all those sorts of things. And we literally just opened again after lockdown. So we had a long lockdown between November and 2 weeks ago. So we're in the phase of opening up. And then you can maybe show the next picture. I said another one. I think that's from the Sangha Lounge. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's what I wanted to talk about. This is a retreat center that we have recently built. So this is another big project that we have here. Not finished at all. We were just starting. It's called. So that's not the name we gave it. That's just literally the name it has. It's called the Red Castle. The Red Castle. So that sounds very auspicious. I think it comes from a communist background, but. We try to go with that theme of redness, and you know there has been, yeah, we have no idea yet how to rephrase it, but we've had one sort of Sangha event already there where people have been ripping off dirt and everything, so it really needs to be redone. The whole thing needs to be rebuilt, and that is kind of catalyzing a lot of energies as well. So that's how our mandala is evolving here in Berlin at the moment. Very exciting projects. Yeah, yeah, I think that's
great.
Yeah, that's how it looks like from the inside. That's a Sangha Lounge.
Yeah, I recognize 2 of those people. Nice to see some old friends. Thank you very much. That was lovely, a lovely introduction. I've got a much better sort of mental picture of your situation there. I'm delighted to hear you've got such positive projects in building a retreat centre for yourselves. That sounds fantastic. I love the shrine room. It kind of looked quite zen the way it was laid out. It was very beautiful. So what I'd like to kind of explore with different people now is just the kind of the pathway that's brought you to here, really. You know, right here, right now, we're the sum total of every kind of choice and decision we've made in our lives. So I'd like to kind of backtrack and explore some of those choices and decisions that you've made. Perhaps I could start with Tanya, if you don't mind. Tanya, would you like to just share a little bit about what it was that made you come along to a Sangha, what it was that interested you about Buddhism, what brought you here?
Thank you for inviting us. It's really a pleasure to be here. Actually, the first time that I entered Buddhist store, it was for an interest in meditation coming from yoga more than Buddhism. So that was an add-on, let's say, that I was not expecting. I was establishing a practice of meditation. I had been to a Vipassana retreat years before, And actually, I was looking forward to meditate with other people. I had a practice by myself, but I was looking forward to meditate, with other people. And then what I was not expecting was the friendliness of the people in the Sangha. Really, the first time that you go to a place and you're kind of clumsy and awkward and you don't know, and probably you're going to have these moments of, I don't know what to say because I don't know anyone there. I guess it lasted 2 minutes because I didn't have the time to even to be shy or in this sense, because people were coming to me saying, oh, I've never seen you. This is the first time that you're here. And that really immediately after 10 minutes, I was having very important conversation with complete strangers. And I don't know, I felt like, wow, I've been looking for this place for all my life, really. And since then, it was 2 years ago in the summer. And basically, I never missed a class. Whenever I was, it was on the Saturday on the English-speaking Sangha. Whenever there was something, I really wanted to get involved, and that's when then Buddhism came into my life, like through the Sangha. Basically, that was my way in, and it was so meaningful and so fulfilling of something that I've been looking for these 4 decades previously, that I decided to become a Mitra more or less 1 year ago. And already when deciding to become a Mitra, I already had in mind to ask for ordination. So it was very like a lot of an intense practice and intense life happenings packed in a short period, but it's just because I'm one of these person that can say I felt like coming home. And so I'm acting accordingly to this, let's say. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much for that very clear outline of your path. And it's so interesting because we've never met. We're from different countries. You're in a different country at the moment. And yet everything you've said resonates so deeply with so many of us here. There's this sort of deep commonality in what attracts us to the Dharma and to Triratna's presentation of. So that's very interesting. Thank you. Perhaps, Elia, I could ask you the same question, just what it was that brought you along to the Dharma, to the Buddhist Centre.
So I came along more or less 4 years ago. In fact, I was looking for meditation. I am a scientist, and I was asking my scientist friends about the benefits of meditation. I mean, in general, I think in my life, I was looking for answers. And anyway, someone told me that in Berlin, there is this Buddhist center and you should go. But I was afraid of the German. But then I discovered this ad that they will start an English class like the 30th of September something. And it was like more than a month, but I put it in my calendar and I was waiting for it. And yeah, I went and I saw Triratna. And I mean, at the beginning, maybe I was even waiting for him to say something wrong, like according to science or something, so that I can stop going. But basically, he never did.
I'm a physics teacher.
Yes, and he basically, like, he taught us the threefold path, and I was like, yes, like everything, every Saturday, another thing. And then, yes, like Tanya, I never skipped a class. We started going on retreats, English-speaking retreats, and we went to Strodina, which is the place where we are renting now for retreats. And also there, I started feeling like, really, this is like home. This really makes sense. And then, I don't know, another very magical moment was the Midra ceremony. When I asked to become a Mitra, I didn't know about ordination and stuff like this, but I was like, okay, I think I can be a Mitra now. I think I can do the 5 precepts, and I think I can meditate and try to drink less and not go to the clubs every night. So then I became a Mitra, and then this was so magical. Like, actually, the ceremony was extremely magical. I don't know what happened. And then slowly, also with Corona, things became very real, and how important the practice became really real. And then I was like, okay, I asked for ordination, and now I am in this process.
Lovely, a lovely, beautiful, beautiful answer. And I loved how you've highlighted the importance of the Midra ceremony. I just remember when I was in my ordination retreat, how vividly we all remembered and recognized the importance of our Midra ceremony, albeit that it's so simple, but actually it had quite a profound effect on every one of us that were on my particular ordination retreat. So thank you very much for mentioning that. And of course, the Midra ceremony is the same Midra ceremony, whether you're in Berlin or whether you're in Cambridge or wherever you are. It's the same ceremony. So that's beautiful. Thank you. Fabian, would you like to share a little bit about your early days?
So hi again, everyone. Good to see you. So in my case, it wasn't really a conscious decision I've made to come to learn meditation or to go to Buddhist Center, because it was rather that a friend of mine said, come with me. And I wasn't particularly interested in meditation. But so it ended up me staying and my friend leaving. So it was very funny. So I was here like 1 or 2 times, and then COVID started and the center closed. Then I was very lucky that the center offered these online courses, and I did the journey and the guide. And that was a really important step for me to read Maitreyananda's book, which was like an introduction to Buddhism, because I really wanted to understand the whole theory, the whole philosophy, religion, if you like. And yeah, so I spent all these Corona lockdown months of getting into touch with Buddhism and practicing it. And yeah, it gave me a lot of power, I must say, and of positive emotion. And yeah, I was very lucky that people befriended me here. So I became friends with Dhammasara and with Triratna, and I think that was the most important aspect that kept me. So seeing these young order members living Buddhism, really like an example that really fascinates me. And yeah, we're having a good time together, and I think that's what kept me. Apart from Bhante's writings, I must say. I mean, discovering the library in the center was very important too. Reading his books and listening to his talks on Free Buddhist audio. As the whole new universe opened up for me. And yeah, I'm here ever since, and I became a Mitra very fast, and I asked for ordination a few months later. So everything happened quite fast. It's unusual for me. So I'm still trying to make sense of what was happening over the last 1.5 years.
Great, thank you. Yeah, interesting that you know, you've done the journey and the guide course, because we run the journey and the guide courses here at Cambridge also. So again, an area of commonality, no matter where we find ourselves. I was interested in the team meeting. You mentioned that you were both Dharmasara and you, Fabian, were joining and setting up a new men's community. I wondered if you wanted to kind of say a few words about that, how that's, what brought that about, what interested you in that project, how it's been since it started, or even your aspirations for its future.
Yes, I can say a bit about that. So I personally have lived in Buddhist communities, I think, for 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. So I've already set up my own community here when I was in Mitra with other Mitras. That lasted for 3 years. Then I got ordained. Then I moved into the existing men's community here. But there was always the plan for me to set up a new community, and together with Arya Bandhu and Tara Palita here, we had that plan. And we were sort of waiting for an opportunity to do that, especially with younger guys, and because we then befriended people, and people came in, like Fabian, and then there's another guy who's moving here to Berlin, and another one from England who's moving to Berlin as well. We were just waiting for that opportunity to happen. Yeah, now we're still very much in the Bardo period of it actually starting, so not everyone is here yet. But for me personally, community life is really one of the most inspiring things about my practice. before I moved into community, I thought I would always live alone, never ever going to go in a flat share again. Very, very private person in many regards, but I think my love of the Dharma is much bigger than that, and I love to share it with others, and I love to practice with other people. So now currently we have, that'll be the third community here that we have. There's the existing men's community who has already been going for I think 20 years or something, and then Sangha Darshini is actually in a women's community that has been set up a few years ago as well. So yeah, we're spreading the communal life throughout Berlin.
Right.
And what's also, maybe I can add something. It's also nice that it's very close to the center. So we have just a 5-minute walk to our home. And I know in London they live in the center. I don't know how about the other centers, but it's very nice to have that close, so you can maybe meet after classes, have a tea. It creates a very nice atmosphere.
Lovely. Well, I wish you all the best with your community building efforts. So now maybe turning to some of the order members we have here, so maybe start with Sangha Darshini. So I'd like to just get a sense from you of what it is about practicing within Triratna that inspires you, and or any particular aspect of the Dharma presented through Triratna that's your particular inspiration.
I think having the name Sangha Darshini, it is the Sangha, yeah, she who has a vision of the Sangha. And I think that what always has drawn me, I came in contact with Triratna actually in New Zealand. That was my first place. And then when I moved to Essen, or came first time in contact with the Essen Buddhist Centre, I was amazed how I felt at home. And at the same time, it was so different. There's this aspect of diversity and communality, which is like if you go to any center within Triratna, you will find something very particular. But at the same time, people will be different, as you probably will experience now with these fantastic talks you have from different centers. People will be so different, centers will be so different, but there's a flavor, isn't it? And I think that's also one of the teachings of Bhante, of the individual, the group, and the spiritual community, which has always fascinated. It's like an individual path where I'm trying to develop as an individual, the qualities. I will bring something very special and particular to the Sangha. And at the same time, I'm not joining a group. I'm sort of like trying to create a real spiritual community where people can be, individuals can be themselves, can go deeper in their own way in their practice. For some, it might be meditation. For some, it might be the practice of ethics. It's like we don't have to become the same. We can all shine our own lights.
Very lovely. Yeah, very lovely inspiration for practice. Yeah. Could I ask the same question then to Lalita Ratna?
Say the question again.
So the question was really about what's your inspiration from the Dharma as presented through the lens, as it were, of Triratna? What's the sort of particular kind of teaching or emphasis or whatever of your practice?
Not easy. I mean, Sangharakshita's clarity has astonished me from the word go. Yeah. And what I found frustrating when I first came to Triratna, it was FWO, and that's in 1977. Yeah. And I had lots and lots of questions, and the FWO, they kept agreeing with everything that I said. And I found this really quite annoying in the end. Yeah. I was used to fighting and with Christians and all the rest, and suddenly they were agreeing with everything. And so Sangha, I just found myself falling in accord with what he was teaching, and the clarity was just amazing. And it was very, very intense back in 1977. I was talking about a retreat the other day, my second retreat. You're getting up at 6, quadruple sit breakfast, quadruple sit lunch, communication exercises, double sit tea, puja. It's extraordinary. And it suited me. It suited me very, very well. So just after 2 years, I got this name, Triratna. And I find that, and it's only in Germany that this name has begun to make sense. And that's because when I went to Essen, it was very formal, very strict, and I found it a little bit military. The shrine, it wasn't shrine room etiquette, it was almost, martial law. That's an exaggeration. But Kalyana Prabha said to Bhante after a few years, she said, Triratna sees his job as softening the Germans. And Bhante went, oh, he's done that. He's done that, So it's just bringing in a lightness. But what I've realized, this name, Triratna, the Ratna, a jewel cut glass, that's sharp. But the Lalita is play. So it's you can be absolutely serious on the path and enjoy it all the way. So that's why I think the name, supports this idea of the play of the Bodhisattva, hopefully. So maybe. But yes, insight was the word that thrilled me, and meditation is what thrills me now. Yes. So
fantastic. Thank you. Yes, that very animated response. That was lovely. So Dhammasara, I know that you've already mentioned that community is a strong aspect of your current practice. Is there anything more than that that you would like to add in terms of particular inspirations?
Well, a lot of it does center around the community, I suppose. Creating community, not just literally that, community with the 5 other guys, but also. Well, just coming out of lockdown, to see how important it is to meditate together, practice together, trying to create this space together is extraordinary. I think that really is one of my main, inspirations, but also concerns that I have at the moment. So, I've started working full time now for the center. So, I guess that's kind of my main question. How can we make this place a vibrant, inspiring space for a community where when people come in touch with it, they can get a taste of the Dharma, without any sorts of hindrances, hopefully. That's at the forefront of my mind usually, of like, okay, how can this place be a place of both depth but also of communication and handing on. We're just having a good time here, we just like to enjoy ourselves, and that's the most inspiring thing, I think.
Well, of course, it echoes what Triratna has just drawn out, that actually, you have to enjoy your spiritual life. If it's not enjoyable, you're unlikely to hang around with it. So it can't be something that becomes a chore. It has to have an element of lightness and a huge element of just pleasure and enjoyment. Yeah, fantastic, lovely. So I'd like to ask a slightly kind of obtuse question now, in a way, based slightly on my own experience. So many years ago, before I was a Buddhist, I had the pleasure of spending a few years in Paris, where I had to learn basic French and lived a Parisian lifestyle, which as a young man I thoroughly enjoyed from beginning to end. But one of the things that, looking back at that period, I really sort of appreciated in a way, it was like almost an ability to kind of allow aspects of myself to flower or to come into being through the culture of France that never seemed to quite flower or come into being through the culture of Scotland. My strange accent comes from Scotland. So there was something about that change of culture allowed something to be that hadn't been there before. And it was quite a lovely sort of maturing in a way. So I'd like to ask some of you, maybe Tanya, who, you know, is a non-native German in Berlin studying the Dharma. Do you feel that that sort of cultural background, cultural condition, change of cultural conditions, do you feel that that's helping allow certain aspects of you or your view of the Dharma to kind of flower, or different aspects come into being?
Well, thanks. It's a very interesting question. I think in one particular aspect of our Sangha is, as like Triratna was telling us this information I didn't know, but I think it's no surprise. There are around 20, once he counted 20 different nationalities in our English-speaking Sangha. So this really mirrors the situation of Berlin, which is very peculiar because it's, yeah, it's so international. And I guess as our Sangha is English-speaking Sangha is mainly it's mainly people who are with their roots somewhere else, and so somehow, even though maybe we can have all our motivation for having been having chosen to leave behind our country of origins, we miss something, and a sense of family somehow. And I guess that we can find a certain flavor of it in within the Sangha. I guess it's something that we all share in, and this is also what gives like is strengthened also a lot the quality of the relationship between us. At least what I've experienced, it's been like a very strong bonds. That it's like you know, it's friendship. It's friendship in the Dharma, but there is also this feeling of family in a way, of substitute for family somehow. And I guess it comes from being far away from our family of origins and from where we come from. I don't know if this answered the question, but I guess for sure this spirit definitely inspires the group somehow, and it's a particular, like a peculiarity of this Sangha, I guess.
Yeah, Dora, thank you very much for that. I loved Jans. I loved bringing out the aspect of the Sangha, no matter where it is, being like a family, like we immediately can kind of plug in and feel at home and supported. That's very, very beautiful evocation of the internationality of the Sangha. That was lovely. Thank you very much for that. So Ellie, you're I believe not German, but in Germany. So do you have anything to?
Yeah, maybe I will add, because also you started with Paris, and Paris for me is like pleasure. So also for me also, and I lived also in New York before, and Berlin also, there is a lot of pleasure, but there is also a lot of difficulty. And this is something that brings like in your face the condition, like all the conditionality, and you cannot not look. You have to look, and if you look, then you discover that you need the Dharma to work with it, and to even to just acknowledge it, right? So I think this is an important aspect of living in another country. It's like in your face, and you have to face it, and there is no way out.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So now I'd like to maybe ask Fabian. I believe you are German, so there wouldn't be that kind of cultural change. But I'd just like to change tack and sort of explore what your vision of the future is. So what sort of order member would you like to be, or what sort of qualities would you like to be bringing to the order?
That's quite a question. I must say, I haven't really thought about the vision for the center, because there's so many new things happening these days all the time. So I'm trying to make small steps. But if I had to give a vision, I would probably just say friendship is important, and to have a genuine culture of friendship and of open-mindedness towards other people, and of having a good time, as Triratna said, as just having a laugh together. And it's supposed to be fun. And I think that's my vision.
Yeah, that's an excellent vision to have. So maybe I could ask the same question of Sangha Darshini. Do you have a vision of the future, an ideal world in 5 years' time?
Of our Buddhist Centre. So, yeah, it's quite interesting being at a centre where there is a very strong sort of like it's a bit like having two Sanghas. You know, there's the English speaking and there's the German speaking Sangha. And in some ways, my job as the Midra convener, I feel like, how do we sort of like create a whole Sangha, you know, where people get to know each other, where we learn from each other. And I think there's a lot of learning to be done. Ellie, for example, you know, you're such a fantastic person, but she's scared of Germans, but she's in a German sort of like Buddhist center, you know. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to bring this together? People who, you know, sort of like creating a Sangha with all, as I said before, with all the differences which bring it. So my vision is to sort of like a place where we all learn together and where we really live Bhante's vision out. You know, I don't know how that's going to look like, but I've got a lot of shraddha that something beautiful, really beautiful will flourish. And I loved what Fabian just said. It's about friendship, you know, it's about these friendships we develop and deepening our practice together. Yeah.
Fantastic. Lovely, lovely, lovely vision. Thank you for sharing. So Lala Triratna, do you have any thoughts on that same question of a vision of the future?
I've often been asked about vision, and I run away from the word. It scares me. I mean, just being in Southampton, I got the Southampton Sangha going years ago, and I remember all the closed down churches. We nearly bought one. We just didn't quite have enough money. And I thought, if somebody had a vision, which was like, you know, building all these castles everywhere, in the end, it comes to nothing. You know, you know, England, you know, all the churches that are now carpet warehouses or nightclubs and blah, blah, blah. So that was, you know, an amazing religion. And it's now just shops and clubs largely. Yeah. So what is vision? And I'm thinking, maybe it's an element of communication, a quality of communication. That is what makes me shiver. That's what fires me and excites me. And it's that interaction with delightful people. And you look at this crew along the top here, we've got a lovely Sangha. They do make it easy to like you. You know, for you to like them, sorry, you know, it really runs, you know, we're very, very fortunate. Yes. So, but I think it's a quality of communication would be for me what vision is. Yeah.
Lovely. Absolutely. I would agree. Yes. In Southampton, in the end, it was only last year or the year before, I think they didn't buy a closed down church.
No, it's a pub. It's
exactly.
a pub. It's a pub.
We bought a closed down pub.
It's fantastic. And yeah, sorry. And they asked me to speak there, you know, as the one who started Southampton. And I said, I had a vision for Southampton, and what you've done is so much better. Yeah, you know, and and the pub, it pulls in the young people, not for the alcohol, but for the meditation. Yeah, yeah.
But that's a great endorsement. Instead of having a vision, have something better. Yeah, that's brilliant. I like it. So we've only got a few minutes left, and then I'd like to invite anybody else that's here in Cambridge to ask questions. But I did want to just explore maybe Dharmasara again. So one of the things that's quite active around the Cambridge Sangha is engagement in kind of we're not exactly non-dharmic, but sort of dharmic approaches to world problems. That would be the best way of putting it. So so there's quite a lot of number of the members of the Cambridge Buddhist Centre who are involved in sort of climate action. There've been quite a lot of engagement with the Black Lives Matter movement and so on and so forth. I just wondered if you could kind of outline if there are similar connections between the Berlin Sangha and, as it were, the wider world and the problems of the wider world, the kind of real actual kind of real problems of the outside world, like climate and racism and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I feel like you've asked the wrong person because I'm not a part of any of that. As I don't think I'm aware of that there's any sort of official Sangha groups who have formed around these issues. I know that there's a lot of people who've come to the center who are very, very passionate about these things and who care very, very deeply about the state of the world in all its shades and aspects. I can remember, you know, a lot of people went to Black Lives Matter demonstrations after a class. I remember us going to Fridays for Future demonstration, all these things. So people do sort of organize themselves around these things. But within the order, though, I do think we haven't quite figured out how to go around these things, and we're quite careful to sort of have official center activities or groups around these well, sort of political, social issues, because well, within the order there's a variety of views around them, so that's quite not always easy to figure them out. And yeah, well, we want to be basically a Dharma center where people can practice the Dharma, and then hopefully that will help them to sort of well, find their views, find their approach to the world. Yeah, and I'm well, my name is, all the other order members have explained their name. Maybe I can explain my name. My name is he who has the essence of the Dharma. So I try to stick with the Dharma.
Very good. There's enough there to keep us all occupied for the rest of our days. So we have about 15 minutes or so left this evening, and so I'd like to invite anybody else here in Cambridge, if there's any questions that have not been asked of our friends that are here from Berlin, if they would like to ask anything. Yep, just unmute, Kalyanidhi, and
I asked the question, I chopped myself off. I was very moved, Fabian, when you were talking about reading Bhante and like a whole universe opening up or something like that. And I'm interested whether that was, did you read Bhante in English, or do you have a lot of German translations of Bhante, and is that sort of an ongoing project?
No, that was basically in English. So I read the originals, and at that time I didn't even know that there were German translations. And I think not everything is translated, so I just stick to the English, to the original. And all these talks on Free Buddhist Audio, they're all in English. So I know for me it's not a problem, though sometimes it can be difficult. But for other people, maybe it should be more available in their own languages.
There's a big translation board here in Germany, and we have quite a few, like all the core texts that are translated into German and published, but not everything is translated.
But I must say, I mean, getting access to Bhante via Free Buddhist audio or YouTube videos was even more important for me, because I got a sense of what he was like. There's a sense of humor, the way he speaks and everything. Get a clearer picture of him. I mean, I never met him personally, unfortunately, but it's a nice way of getting to meet him.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got a question. So here in Cambridge, we've got, I think we don't have many people of color in our Sangha, and it's also, not many, well, we're all, not many people from with lower incomes, if you know what I mean, like we're not very, well, anyway. So I'm wondering how is that in Germany, in your center? Are they all people who are very, go to university and things like that, or, and also with regards to the people of color?
We have phases. We have phases. So I remember a period when quite a number of black gay guys came along. Amazingly tall fellows. I thought it was a basketball team who'd arrived, but then that phase passed on. But it is interesting. I remember once somebody saying to me in Southampton, why don't you have, they put it bluntly, why don't you have more blacks in your movement? And I was appalled. I was horrified. And then I thought, hang on, wait, there's Satya Bandhu. He's from Africa. He's one of my best mates. And then there's, and all it, who is it? Nagashri. All these friends of mine are black, but I didn't see them as black. It never occurred to me that they were my mates, and I found that quite interesting. Yes, Punyavati, all these Jayadevi, but so I found that interesting. But coming back to Berlin, you can't do it. Sangha actually once said, if we want more blacks in the movement, we need to have more energy. And I was a school teacher and in Hackney, and my kids, the black kids, I allowed them to stand up at their desks to work. They had so much energy they couldn't sit down to work, And I used to allow them to stand. So that's an interesting thing. Maybe we're a bit too boring. I don't know. We shall see. Yes.
So there's a question that's come through on the chat from Bethan. So she's saying, I have a question, if that's okay. I wanted to ask, do you ever feel alone on your journey? And is that okay? And something I need to learn to sit with? So do you ever feel alone on your journey? And is it okay to feel alone?
I can say something about that. The quote that always comes to mind is from Lord of the Rings: "To be a ring bearer is to be alone." And I always have that on my. I always think about that when I did the ordination process and to get ordained. So I think to be a Buddhist means to be alone. It's kind of some mantras. Might not be proper advice, but I think I definitely had phases, even though living in a community, being in the center, of feeling like everyone is different to me and everyone's doing this thing that I'm not doing. But then what helped me was sort of trying to make sense of it from this very, very central teaching of Sangha, which is, the individual, the group, the spiritual community. So yes, in a way we are alone as an individual, but that doesn't mean we need to be lonely. So there's a difference there, I think, and it's about figuring out how to come back to your inspiration and how to build up a sustained practice of meditation, of going for refuge, that will carry you for over these lonely periods. But yeah, well, friendship is certainly very helpful and against that, but it's also not, you also can't expect your friends to always carry you. You need to learn to carry yourself. But yeah, it's to fight with your mind is quite a lonely task.
Thank you for that, Dharmasala. Yes, that was very lovely, and I hope that's been helpful, Beth Ann. Yeah. Oh well, she's saying thank you very much. So I'm guessing it has been helpful. So thank you again, Dharmasala. Are there any other questions from anyone? Oh, here's one from Gina. Let me see what that says. So Gina says, if I can paraphrase, she'd like to hear more about the challenge of the two Sanghas, German and English speaking, which especially Sangha Darshini mentioned. Yeah. Could you say more about how you think they can be integrated? And then she apologizes for a poor internet connection. So could you say any more, Sangha Darshini? I think the question was more directed at you about integration of the German and the English speaking Sanghas in Berlin.
Yeah, I mean, Gina, lovely too. It's a pity that you haven't got a picture. Lovely to hear your question. Yeah, I wonder if the word integration is the right word. There was sort of like a while ago when the English-speaking Sangha started, there were these questions, oh, they have to be integrated into the German Sangha, and somehow that doesn't work. It's like, it's a bit like, it sounds like you make something small to fit into something else, and that's not going to work. I think what we're trying to do is having quite a lot of like Sangha Day or retreats or festivals bilingual, where actually there is a possibility for people to meet with each other, even if they don't speak the different languages. And people go on retreat together. We had a retreat with Sacharaja 1.5 years ago now. Normally we would have another English-speaking retreat. And if you just sit together and meditate and do the practices together, it's a real enrichment. We're just having this next weekend going for Refuge Retreat for people it started off from our Sangha, because we realized we had to translate everything into English again, because there are people like Tanya and Ellie. And now we invited people from our whole area. So there will be a few people coming from Norway, from Turkey, from Greece. And it sort of like really enriches the experience, but it needs this translation work. It needs translation of the language, but also probably the culture. Maybe somebody else wants to say something.
Yeah, just sometimes you can feel, I mean, I've had to be learning German, and my German's still not good enough. But I have I was in Essen feeling better communication with some people who couldn't speak any English, and my German was poor, but the communication felt, just very, very good. Yeah. So there's something much higher than the difference of languages. And I must say, I do remember how much I enjoyed going down to Belgium on our FWO days and meeting the Belgian Sangha. And they set you a riddle, because they have a different culture and they're clearly Buddhists. And so you're saying, so what is a Buddhist? We've got Buddhism in common, but we have different cultures. And then you learn about yourself. You learn what is Buddhist in you by seeing what's Buddhist in them. So there can be huge advantages in meeting Buddhists from another culture and just spending time with them. So yeah, there we go. But it should work out. It should work out. And sorry, one last example is going to Bodh Gaya and meeting all these Buddhists, and they come up to you. Oh, I asked to become a Dhamma Mitra in 1998, and in 2000, and I became a Dhamma Mitra, and my brothers and sisters, they're all Dhamma Mitras, and it's so different. it's massively different. They've taken the whole family onto the spiritual path. It's a completely different path. And then you think, but they're order members. You know, it took them 18 years to get ordained, or 22 years to get ordained, you know, but we're all order. And that is, it's a koan, it's a puzzle in which you get to understand yourself. Yeah. So you get to see what's a Buddhist in you. Yeah.
I think it is. It's a very, very interesting point. It's making me think of silent retreats. I've been on many silent retreats where language is irrelevant, and people were on the retreat from all sorts of different places. And the level of communication through the silence between us was beautiful. You know, it was really deep and meaningful and lovely. So something about, it's just bringing to mind something about seeing language as a barrier that actually the Dharma doesn't. So it's, as Lala Triratna says, it's just a kind of a koan in that we see barriers, but actually when we've got no language, the barrier doesn't exist. We can still have quite lovely communication between us. So we've got another message from Gina. Just quickly have a look at that. Yeah. Lovely, yes. So it wasn't really a question, but it was just more of a response from Gina. So thank you very much for that. So we have a few minutes left, and I'm reminded just to bring this sort of to a close, unless anybody has another burning question, that this series on our Sangha night kind of was inspired by a month or so ago, or a couple of months ago. We had a fundraiser as part of the Sangha night for the Polish Sangha. So we had various members of the Polish Sangha come to join us here in Cambridge. And they were basically explaining how difficult it is in Poland to introduce the Dharma to those that are Polish and interested, but do not have good enough English to be able to read Sangharakshita's original writings in English. So there was a fundraiser to pay for, I forget which one of his works it was, but to pay for that to be translated from English into Polish. It was a very, very lovely evening. It was kind of an inspiration for these invitations to other Sanghas to come and join us. And we managed to raise more than enough money to have the whatever work it was translated into Polish. But the last question, since they were coming to join us in a way to ask for help, although we were more than willing to have a fundraising evening on their behalf. So the last question really is there any other ways or any ways in which you think we could help the Berlin Sangha? Is there anything we could do to try and pay you back for this lovely evening that you've brought to us?
Well, I showed you the Retreat Center project. It costs 2 million euros. So pound is very strong compared to euro at the moment. So your money will go a long way. You could go on our website, Buddhistisches. I will put it in the chat.
Oh, could you email it or put it in the chat? Yeah, put it in the chat. That would work. That's a very practical way that we could begin to pay you back or to help out.
That's the website of the Retreat Center project. There's a lot of nice videos documenting the progress. We don't have any money, but we're still doing it. You know, one of the former mayors of Berlin said that Berlin is poor but sexy, so that's what we're trying to do.
I like the spirit. So maybe on that note, we're now reaching 9 o'clock. It just leaves me to once again thank you very much, the Berlin Sangha, for coming to join us this evening. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought your answers to some of my obscure questions or whatever have been absolutely lovely, quite heartwarming and very inspiring. I couldn't have asked for anything more. So I would really like to thank you very much for being part of this evening and for making it so uplifting for us all. Thank you. And so,
Vielen Dank.
oh, thank you. And so now I'll just hand back to